So I was thinking a little bit about our conversation last week. We're still stringing along the Charlotte related intro, I feel like. But uh, mom called me this week and reminded me that not only was it a golf cart that ran through our area, but it was also like a delivery truck went through and knocked over mailboxes. I think she mentioned all in the same day too. But it just got me thinking because we've lived, particularly in Charlotte too, I lived in a lot of different places. Um, and something I found to be so underrated and so useful is having a gas station within walking distance or like a store of sorts. I don't know if you remember, like we could walk to that gas station off of Moorhead. And then
Yeah,
I was trying to think of other, there's, where was the other ones we could walk to? But I just, yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, but it's underrated.
you miss being able to walk and get drinks and candy.
Yeah, well, even in our when we lived in Florida, where we were born, there was that gas station. We never really went to it. I imagine we probably would have when we were older, but like I went back not too long ago, and it was just like, man, it's so like for a kid and teenager to have like it's just so cool to have a gas station or something within walking distance to the point where my wife and I look at like other places. It's now a factor. And like living in LA, I'm like, what is close to here?
Where's the closest Wawa or Sheets, QT?
It's not gonna be anywhere out here. Like we don't have those. But which it honestly, it kind of sucks not having one of those out here.
Gotta move back east. I need my gas stations.
It is a perk because you don't really realize how convenient gas stations can be to that extent because the ones out here, it's really just get gas and go. I had to do mobile detailing for a while, and it was always so difficult to figure out where I could use the restroom.
Yeah,
Because like half these places have them locked. I mean, there's reasons for that, but like, yeah, you need a code or something, which I was fine with those. But yeah, gas stations were like, no, get out of here.
yeah,
Go somewhere else. And yeah, even when you go to the outskirts of just the middle of like nowhere, California, which is pretty easy to get to, there's still gas stations are not big, which is fine at that point. But yeah, being around, when your work is dependent on just labor and you're not near a restroom all the time, you're like, oh, that is convenient. And I could have also gotten lunch. That would have been
yeah,
nice. But yeah, I now we live within a walking distance of a Rite Aid, but it's also on its way out. Which oddly enough, these Rite Aids that are on their way out are way nicer than a Walgreens or a CVS on the inside. Way nicer. And but I told my wife because there's going to be a time where we move again, and I was like, that's a box for me to check off. Is are we within walking distance? Which is also a reason why I don't want to be rich and in a mansion. You can't walk. You need your privacy.
yeah.
It's
And you
dumb.
got a fair point.
That's all I'm full. I'm full of all those. All the fair points. I'm a I'm an observant guy. I know my
I need my
needs.
gas stations for my snacks.
Yeah. If the gas price is too high, I'm not going to get gas there, but I'll continue to buy your snacks. Yeah, my first apartment out here, there was a walking, we were near a CVS and I could walk there, which it's good and bad. Bad for my health because I found I really liked, I can't remember the name of the brand off the top of my head, but I found this brand of gummy bears and the texture, the everything about them was just fantastic. And after work some days, I would just go walk down there and grab a pack and come back home. And so, yeah, adding 700 calories to the end of your night is also a con to some people, but it was a pro for me for a while.
Oh, that's crazy to think about. Just a random 700 calories out of
Yeah,
a
I
pack
didn't
of
really
gummy
realize
bears.
it because I would go through a whole pack in one night and then I would, oh, but that was when I was working on sets a lot. And so I would burn a lot the next day. So it was kind of, it equaled out.
Kind of
But
evened
also,
out
maybe I also gained a lot of weight during that time. Not a lot, but I
enough.
noticed, yeah. So I had to work it off before my wedding. So it's not really come back to. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get into it. We got a lot to talk about on this one.
Let's go.
Also, apologies for the late upload. Life is more important than the podcast for us. So yeah, we Blake was taking beach time with his family, and I was sitting here waiting around, twiddling my thumbs. And yeah, but now we're in it. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
In a way.
Well, episode 10. I think this is 10, right?
It
Last week
is
was 9.
10.
This is 10.
Yeah.
Michigan recap, review. What happened in Michigan this past week, man? Pit stops for us for the 34 with Lane were not good, but there wasn't, it was expected. The
Was it the
right
same
front
issues
shock.
as last week?
It's a little bit different. The shocks that they ran at Michigan, they just didn't want to come out. And it's really to no one's fault. At the shop, we looked at it last week before the truck took off to the racetrack, and the shock was a little slow, but it wasn't as bad. Once we got to the track, it was really bad. But I mean, we were fast, so I've kind of always put the ball in the crew chief's court as long as he's understanding that pit stops might be slower, but if the car's faster on the track and if he needs to make that decision, then go for it. I don't mind, kind of quote unquote taking the fall when people are like, oh, they're slow on pit road, but then
Yeah.
we're fast on the racetrack. So
Yeah.
it kind of sucks, especially given the last few weeks, Nashville, and then this past weekend being slow on pit road. But it was to be expected. Nashville was an unexpected issue. This past week, we knew we were going to be kind of slow, but we didn't know we'd be as slow as we were.
Hmm.
And once we got into race trim and the race was, going, we were our bed was made.
Yeah.
How the setup for the truck was, that was all we were going to do. So if we had to come down pit road under green or in with the leaders, we knew we were going to lose a lot of time. So we were going to have to
But y'all
make
went into
some.
the race knowing this.
We went into the race knowing we were going to be kind of slow. We didn't know we'd be as slow as we were.
Are y'all
So
working on fixing the issue, or is it just an issue that's just like with this setup, this is what it is
no,
right
it's
now?
it's something we know how to fix, and I probably won't get into too much detail about it just because it's very hard to explain to a general fan that wouldn't know the part that we're talking about. But there's some stuff we can make an adjustment for. So I think my crew chief Dylan is working on trying to find a happy medium to where Lane likes it, but then we can also pit it because at the end of the day, if we can't run pit stops
Yeah.
every time we run a pit stop during whatever race, we're going to take Lane out of contention. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, hey,
it's
I
one of
mean,
those things that
y'all
it
bounce back.
sucks,
Oh,
but
sorry.
no, you're
Go ahead.
good. It sucks, but it's a part of what we do, and sometimes we are the unsung heroes for winning the race off pit road, and then sometimes we get all the hate and blame for bad pit stops. But the main thing is just never take your driver out of the race.
Yeah. And yeah, we talked about what you just said last week. You know, that y'all did have a moment during the kind of last couple laps, last 20 laps. I think I put it on here in my notes where the last, with like 20 to go, there was this 10 lap streak of just fantastic racing with the top like four.
Yeah, top
Um,
4 or 5.
yeah, and like y'all were, I thought y'all were coming on strong. Y'all were the first to like really make your way through and then just trying to go for that lead. Everyone else kind of caught up. And that's really showed like the style that Michigan is. I can't really remember Fontana too well right now. Um, but just the style that Michigan is, and like everyone caught up, and it was just this like the one person that had momentum would go, and if they could make it happen, they would stay there, but then somebody else would do it. But if they didn't complete it with the momentum, they would just fall back. Like y'all had that moment a couple times. And so it was really fun to watch. And unfortunately, I think Lane just exited turned two a little too high. And
Hmm.
but y'all did bounce back for a 10th place finish. So overall, like could have been a lot worse
Yeah, for sure.
day, but it was an enjoyable ending because I Lindsay and I were watching it. She was like, "Why are they having bad pits again?" And I was like, "Maybe," but it's like it seems like an issue that is a manageable one. Hey, I feel like y'all managed it well. I feel like maybe if Lane didn't hit the wall, y'all would have definitely been in the top five. But well, I don't know. There was pretty big wrecks at the
There
end.
was a pretty big wreck. We might have been in it, so I
Yeah.
guess it's maybe a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, so yeah, we can go ahead and talk about like from 10 to going on, there was just chaos. It was just one after
Oh
another.
yeah, dude, we had to like weld the wall, so we had like a 20-minute red flag.
Yeah.
Then
Which
there
this
was
reminds
wreck
me
after
now.
wreck.
Lindsay FaceTime her niece, who's um my nephew, your son's age, and she always they always call on the weekends. So then like I'll be watching racing, and they'll Lindsay would turn the phone and show the. It got to the point though this week that the niece was just wanting to watch the race to where her parents put the race on
That's
for
awesome.
her over where they live in North Carolina. And yeah, Lindsay was trying to explain that Owen's brother is on one of the trucks, and she's like, "Which truck?" And we're like, "The blue one." There was a lot of blue trucks this
The
race
one with the
too.
nicotine on the car.
Yeah, was that what your all sponsor was? I couldn't really get a good idea of what
Clue. Yeah, they're nicotine
it.
pouches. Cool guys.
uh, uh, yeah. So I found that really fun because I was like, oh wow, we're gonna go over there now, and then just gonna be watching. They're all gonna be enslaved to a toddler wanting to watch the NASCAR race every weekend now.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, like we're talking about, the chaos with 10 to go was just, I'm sure that was probably fun to watch from the pits, especially the stack up on the restart.
I mean, man, we had just pitted because we pitted for our right front being flat. And the second we got on the pit road, that's when the caution came out. And so we went ahead and ran our stop, tried to fix the right front, but then we kept cutting right fronts. We
Hmm.
couldn't get it to stop cutting right fronts. So I think we cut two,
Hmm.
two more after that.
It's
So once
crazy.
we finally put the third one on, it finally held up, but it was nuts because it was just timing. It ended up saving our day. It really did. If that caution hadn't come out, we would have gone a lap down or several laps down. We would have cut down tires left and right. We would have been 5 or 6 laps down if that caution hadn't come out. And then when they restarted, it took out a bunch of trucks. So then we gained all those spots. And for a second there, we were like, man, it's actually going to be an okay day. And it ended up being a solid day. It just kind of sucks because we probably were a top five truck. Maybe could have won, but
Yeah.
just wasn't a good day for luck, I guess is the best way to put it. Because the 52 ended up winning, and I don't even know where they were running at
Yeah, they kind of came out of nowhere.
before the massive wreck happened. I don't even know where they were at on the track.
It was towards the end. It was like, okay, I don't think a like terribly deserving driver was gonna win. Like Hocevar, Heimbart, and y'all, and the I think there
The
was somebody.
nine,
Yeah.
the nine led a lot.
I will say the nine was probably the one left up front that was like, if we're looking at the whole race now with who's in contention, they are deserving. But I mean, to look at the top 10 finishers that I have pulled up, yeah, Friesman would be one that I would shout out. I can't really speak to Infinger's season. I don't really know their consistency in that, but I feel like this has been maybe their best finish so far. I mean, it had to be their best finish if they haven't won yet. So,
Yeah, easily ties their best finish.
but yeah, the 66 Luke Finhaus, good finish for them, probably career best, even though he qualified on the pole. Ben Rhodes, good finish despite some trouble.
I don't know what happened with them, man. They were slow.
They've not had the best season. They really have not been
No, they've had
around.
a pretty bad season.
That's why whenever we do like truck predictions, I'm like, I feel like there's four guys that we can really choose from here.
Yeah, honestly, it feels
Because
very
there's,
consolidated.
yeah, the ThorSport trucks are just not showing up every week consistently.
They were kind of fast this past weekend, though.
They
The
were.
66, the 98 was fast. I'm trying to remember. The 99 wasn't really there until the end of the race. And the 88's had they've been slow too. I know that they got
Yeah.
lapped at Nashville, and that's just kind of unlike Matt Crafton, so I don't know what's going on there.
Well, yeah, just looking at the top 10, still like Corey LaJoie debuts at fifth. Granted, I don't think that truck was a fifth place truck at all. That '07. Yeah, I feel like they just need to update it. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's like even Kyle Busch, he can still race the trucks really well. Even he was struggling to run 15th at Nashville.
Hmm.
So Corey LaJoie got luck on his side this week with those big wrecks. He still did a good job. He was running like 15th to 20th, it seemed like all race. But yeah, I would like to see that truck be more competitive. I think it would be pretty. I am a fan of those the cup drivers coming down and racing with them and just giving, these young drivers, developing drivers something to chase. Um, Especially Corey Heim. Someone needs to show Corey Heim, or at least change it up a bit. Carson Osvar has definitely done that. Good on him, but yeah, it was an interesting race, and I really enjoyed the truck race. So. I know it was probably a pretty frustrating day for y'all, but from the outside looking in, just know it was quite an enjoyable race.
Yeah, I was joking with the guys, but during the race like, under red flag, I was like, man, even if we win, I'm gonna feel horrible. I didn't do anything today. I couldn't do anything.
Hmm.
So I just felt helpless. After the race, I talked to Lane briefly, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we didn't think it was going to be that bad." And um, he said, "We're going to fix it." Even my crew chief told me after the race, he's like, "We're going to fix that. We can't run like that, with trucks that are going to be up front and then have 20-second stops because the right front doesn't want to come out." So
Yeah.
hopefully
Well,
it's
you
all
did get
resolved.
a highlighted segment again. They were comparing y'all to Nashville, but
Yeah,
Lindsay and I were like, "Oh, we've never seen Blake on TV for this long," and like they were
dude.
particularly focusing on you. We're like, "Oh, this is fun."
I've been told that a few times. I guess I'm gonna have to go watch the recap on
Yeah,
the actual NASCAR YouTube account. But yeah, I've been told about that too, and I'm just like, I'm on TV. It's funny.
for the wrong reasons or
I told a
whatever.
friend earlier today. It feels like I kind of got famous, but for the wrong reasons. Like I became a villain, and it's like I'm here because I'm the bad guy.
Yeah. I don't feel
And
like you're the bad guy. I feel like I mean, I don't know. I guess there's probably some fans that maybe not understand, what you explained
oh
last
yeah,
week, the
don't go
setup.
on Twitter after you have a bad night at the racetrack because we get thrown under the bus.
Yeah. Ugh. But
Gotta have thick skin in this sport.
yeah, I feel bad for drivers sometimes where it's just kind of like fans just they will just
They're ruthless,
go.
dude.
Yeah, and like there's just a blind hatred sometimes to some of these drivers because yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano on the track, but like I do like what they do for the sport and they are respectable and like I don't know, I don't really have a driver that I just absolutely dislike, at least in the Cup Series in the way of consistent racing. There are some truck drivers that come through and I'm like, why are you even here?
Yeah,
Uh, I'm not gonna name names personally, but um, yeah, there's definitely those drivers still,
definitely get
but.
that.
I think that kind of wraps up the truck race, though. I don't really think there's.
Wasn't crazy other than those wrecks at the end, and like I said, we had the like 15 or 20 minute red flag for welding the wall.
Yeah, which I appreciate them doing that. I heard that there was, or I saw this picture. I think someone shared an example. Like there was a local grassroots race that finished. Um, they ran a whole race with like a hole in the fence, like a legit like a car like went through the fence and they just finished the race. And so they're like, that's pretty unsafe. Good on NASCAR for taking the time to fix it. I will say that's a pretty big difference in the way of like, yeah, NASCAR has the resources and preparation to fix their wall, whereas a catch fence being broken is a bigger issue. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
that's hilarious. Just turn your back towards the glaring hole in the fence. Like, yeah, we'll just keep going.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
nobody goes back to that same spot.
All the camera guys feel it. Hey, new hole.
Yeah, for real.
Check
Photographers,
this out.
we got great view now of the track.
Yeah, which I do. Speaking of just media coverage topic, that can lead into the Cup race if you want to get into that now, because I was enjoying Prime a lot this week. I was extremely thankful for them because the Cup race did get into a fuel mileage race. And again, I've talked about my wife a lot. She's new to the sport. I understand the strategy of fuel mileage racings, but it can still just be naturally boring. Um, and Prime has figured out a way, at least in my opinion, to make it interesting by them showing these particular graphics that they made that show the fuel mileage. I forget what they named the graphics, but like it was showing it and they're showing the difference between like the leader and third place at the time or something, and just showing what they're doing to save it and when they're going full out on the throttle or holding back. And it was just so interesting to watch that. And it made it, and Steve Letarte being able to articulate it and dumb it down for people was really, really well done, I feel like. And I just feel like, I know Fox made an attempt, like they would have on the scoreboard, like last pit and all that, and they would try to explain it. But just the visuals that I think Prime came up with were really, really good. And I just, yeah, give them a lot of credit for making a fuel mileage race extremely interesting. Michigan was a good enough fuel mileage race where it did help, but yeah, they made it quite interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't get to watch any of the cup race. I was busy with family stuff and things going on in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I was not home to watch it, but I was told and heard it was a really good cup race. It was racy, and I think I've been told numerous times now that Prime's done a great job with their broadcast.
Yeah, we got like two, three races left with them, and I know it was like TNT or something like that, and I'm like, I think we're a bit spoiled with Prime right now, but yeah, the Cup race overall, having watched it, it was very good, and I heard complaints about like not being able to pass after um the race. They were like, oh, Michigan, it wasn't nobody was able to pass, and I was, where did that come from? Because even if you watched it, it really just showed the difference in speeds. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like you could get stuck behind a car, but you could pass easily, as we did see, like up towards the top. And to me, it was really just it's a momentum race,
Yeah.
style of passing, definitely. Like you need to catch the draft and you need to time it well. But to me, I was like, I don't know where they're getting this. Like they acted like it was a gridlock, and I don't think it was at all. We saw several lead changes, several. There's also the factors of different strategies.
Hmm.
And there's just a lot like, but you could see the gaps whenever they would get into the rhythm of the race. Like there was a clear time where like Kyle Busch was one that he qualified really well, but then they were talking on the broadcast that clearly they had trimmed up the car to perform well during qualifying. So when it came to the race, he kind of was a roadblock at one point, but he eventually did fall back. And the same with Larson. Larson was like that at times. And he clearly couldn't keep up at times. But it was just clearly off of just speed. The 24, the 11, the 17, and a couple other cars were just very fast. And it really showed. And so I don't really know why people were complaining about not being able to pass in Michigan when I clearly think they could.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually talked to Lane Saturday night when I got home. He called me actually just to tell me, like, hey man, I still like love you as my tire changer because of the bad publicity we got for
Yeah.
the bad pit stops. He's like, I just want to say thank you for fighting and keeping forward. We're gonna fix it, and stuff. And I told him that, I appreciate it, but also it's today was just all about track position. Like you need to just basically start in the top five, top 10 at the most if you had the best truck. You really couldn't start worse than that because it ultimately would make such a difference on long run speed. You had to get those runs and stuff to get back to the front. So track position was really, really important.
I also, going back to the truck race real quick, forgot to do my scheme shout outs, which
Oh
was
yeah.
the 1 and the 33.
The one you've been picking the one a lot.
Well,
And then
it's
the
because it's kind of
33.
like a spire ride in a way where like different drivers are taking it. So there's a lot of different sponsors. I can't remember them. I
You
think
can't
the
remember
third
them?
I think the 33 was Morgan Morgan and Muniz.
Yeah, I
That was
think
the
it
sponsor.
was.
It
It
was
was
I
black
mean
and
it's
yellow.
definitely yeah, and I think it was just a bit it was a bit more in depth than the normal Morgan and Morgan scheme. I don't know, it just worked for me.
I'm
Um,
biased, but I really like the 34. They put the ratchet straps over the clue cans like in the bed of the
oh,
truck.
maybe
It
I
was a
just didn't
de
see it.
it was a detail that was probably pretty hard to see unless you got a glimpse of it before the race or on
Yeah.
social media. But it was an overall pretty good scheme.
Yeah, I especially with the Cup series, on their Reddit, they'll release like the spotter guide. And so I kind of get my idea for that, but then it always changes whenever they get on the track. Like a
Mm,
color will reflect differently and stuff.
that makes sense.
But to go ahead and just get the scheme shoutouts for the Cup race out of the way, the 45, I'm a sucker for a Mobile One scheme, just as I am for a Valvoline scheme. The 21 in a throwback scheme, which was pretty cool.
I didn't see what the 21 looked like.
Yeah, it was just a throwback Wood Brothers scheme. It was pretty cool. A lot more white than red this time, but
Okay.
still looked good looking. And the 60, having trouble remembering what it looked like. Oh, it was castor oil. Um, and I haven't seen since starting the podcast. They really haven't run their castor oil scheme. So I was like, you know what? We're putting it in there. But I will shout out the four as well. The four looked really good. At like the lightning scheme, kind of looked like a
Yeah, that's a pretty solid
NASCAR
one.
Thunder 2003-esque scheme. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had them on there, but they got booted out. So I ultimately like these more. But yeah, wild restarts though. Man, that was the most butt clenching restarts I've had in a while. Like we were just sitting there getting giddy over these restarts because it was just so tight all the time, and we were like ah, and yeah, we were having a lot of fun when these restarts came in, and
I
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, it was just cool because it'd fan out, and but it was like everyone was just going for these holes that were so small, and they would just put their nose in there, and like, oh man, it was so fun. I'm surprised there wasn't a wreck on every
Yeah.
restart. But yeah, getting a little bit more into the race, Hocevar showed his speed again. He led quite a bit, but ultimately they went for an aggressive strategy. I won't call it like a big swing, but like they were 4 laps short on fuel. We're never gonna make that up. Kind of were hoping for a caution, but they got bit by. a flat tire before anything could happen.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember seeing that. So I knew that they were pretty
yeah.
fast.
Well, then the 24 was kind of in that same boat. I think they were a lap and a half short, and but they were up front, and so they were using up a lot more because I think the five was also on that same strategy. And
Right.
so the 24 ended up finishing like 28th back there with like Hostfar in 29th, but the five finished fifth. So the five was running third and just was able to conserve. Uh, and so, yeah, they ultimately finished fifth, though. But Denny Hamlin shows his veteran experience again, like just the whole team and it's his driving ability was just on full display. I will have to admit I was annoyed just because, like I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of Denny on the track because I have enough drivers that like I root for outside of him. But um, I don't like his new nickname though,
What do you
Daddy.
mean?
I kick off him like Daddy Denny or something like that. I don't know. I heard the word daddy a little too much post race, and I feel like they were trying to make this new nickname because the kid's coming.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and so it's like let's not. I don't want to call him Daddy Denny. I'm good.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, another couple like Chris Buescher really showed his Michigan experience again. Like he's won here once, but yeah, he's always been fast. Actually, all of RFK finished in the top 10, so good day for them.
Right.
Yeah. Good day for Bubba Wallace and Zane Smith. Zane Smith comes home seventh, and also Kyle Busch
Mm.
gets a needed eighth place finish. So just a solid day for them. But yeah, outside of that, I now Michigan is now a track I'm looking forward to again, unless it proves else or otherwise. Um, yeah, really looking forward to next time we race here because this was a very good race. I feel like it fits the car pretty well as well. It's just I don't know. It's a race I would go to honestly, and it kind of made me really miss Fontana because I was like, oh, that was so close, and I just really didn't appreciate it at the time. And also, like, it is a different experience to watch the race from the infield. You
Yeah.
really just you only get the sense of what you're looking at. It's a cool experience, but there are times, especially when I'm at like Daytona and you're in the pits. And usually I'll stand where the screen's at. There's like two big screens on the pits. Or I'll stand if I'm like near your pit, I'll just stand to watch from y'all's screen too. But you're watching them go by, and then you're just immediately turning around to look at the screen. And
Yep.
so you can get the sense of like who's good and who's bad, what the race is like. But ultimately, like when you're watching on TV, there's a lot more information to take in and a lot more overview. But I don't know. They're two different things, but yeah, it was just a good race. I guess we have to leave it at that. Oh, Ty Gibbs finishes third. Good for him. I
Oh,
think he
yeah,
was
I saw he jumped up a lot in points. Good for them.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, really good for them. But yeah, I don't think there's much more to talk about with the Cup race.
Guess we'll talk about some Mexico.
Well, do you first want to get manufacturer talk out of the way because there was the big Ram announcement,
Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. So I haven't been
which
told much other than
you
they're coming to
drive a
the.
Ram.
I do drive a Ram. Um,
Does that make you biased?
no, not really. I think it's cool. I wish
By
they
the way,
hadn't really
this is
ever
not
left
sponsored.
Alani's.
Yeah.
Um,
Although we do love big corporations here. We
Gatorade
love
and
them.
Alani.
McDonald's is on the way right after I go fuel up my car at the Exxon. Get your fuel. I
We need
wish
some
we got money.
sponsorship deals. That'd be great.
I did just
No,
steal Conan O'Brien's joke. He does that on his podcast all the time.
yeah, I know that the Rams only coming back to truck next year. I don't think they're going into Xfinity or Cup immediately. I think it's just starting off in trucks.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure pretty soon after that there'll be an Xfinity and Cup. So
Yeah, I think I heard Ram is starting it and Dodge has the intentions of going. Uh,
okay,
yeah. Which I have seen some like fan renderings of what a potential like Challenger or Charger could look like, and I kind of like
yeah, it looks
it.
pretty cool.
So, but yeah, Ram coming in, like what, speaking from the truck series, what would this do too much besides, maybe thin out some manufacturer or thin out, or I don't know, spread out the manufacturing and everything like that. Some teams, a team or two might switch over to Ram and try to be their primary top or tier one team. But do you think it'll do much in the way of change
Um,
anything?
it's kind of hard to say. I don't think it'll do a ton. maybe just backing from Ram themselves, as in money that Ram
Yeah.
funds them. But no, I mean, because a lot of the things with the truck series, a lot of teams run the
It's all
Ilmor
the same engine,
engines.
right?
Yeah, for the most part, it's a crate motor, so it's Ilmor puts together the engine, so each team has the same horsepower, same package and stuff. It's not one team is developing a motor and has found something that's better than
Mm,
the rest. So, um, kind of cool. Also, sometimes has its downsides, but I don't
yeah.
know if it would really do it to a whole lot different. I think it'd just be nice to have Dodge or Ram back in the sport, where they used to be and they used to compete. So that'll be really, really cool to see. From what I know, I don't know if we'd be switching over. I think that they have a pretty good partnership
Yeah.
with Ford, so I
I
don't think
wasn't
we would be
suspecting at
moving.
all. I think there's like I know I've heard like potentially Thor Sport or Nice was like ones that were like people were theorizing.
Mm,
Because I think somebody was saying with Thor Sports like underperforming this year, they're like, oh, are they setting up for Ram?
could be.
Because that is one thing I'm curious. I feel like for manufacturer, they definitely need to come in with a team. Uh, because I was wondering, I'm like, where did they get their information from to come into this? Especially if they were to get, if Dodge was going to Cup, like, what team would they adapt to get their information, and try to be competitive from the start? Because Toyota wasn't, were they terribly competitive when they started? I couldn't remember, but
That first year they came in, I don't remember being insanely competitive, but I
yeah.
think the nice thing about NASCAR is you don't have to create an entire car. You're really only making a nose and a clip
Hmm.
for the front bumper and rear bumper
But still
covers.
for like setups at each race and stuff. I know, Rodney Childress being a hot ticket right now for any team trying to add into their development. I would wonder if like someone like Ram would go after Dodge. Granted, Rodney doesn't have a lot of truck notes probably anymore, but going in there and trying to figure out setups for their future races and everything. I'm just curious of the logistics of all that and the headache that's behind that. But
Yeah,
one thing I did hear was Honda is potentially on the horizon. I know the CEO came out saying like, not sure, like really can't talk about it or not talk about it, but like can't speak to what, has been said. But it didn't seem like a no either. But I think it would be interesting having Honda come in, particularly because of Toyota. Just they're both kind of the same manufacturer to me in the way of have the most dependable cars on the road and uh, some of the most bought cars on the road too.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I've definitely detailed a lot of them in my day. They're not my favorite cars to detail, I'll be honest. Even though I do love big corporations. Thank you, Toyota and Honda, for such sustainable cars. Just work on your interiors. Good Lord. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was cool that we did officially get a new OEM in the truck series. I think that's just a win for the sport. And yeah, kind of crazy when we go back. Particularly, I've talked about the Dale Earnhardt documentary, which everyone should watch. It's a really good documentary.
Yes, it
And
is.
it was, yeah. And we've been in the sport our whole lives or just paid attention to it. And I'm sure we both have watched. I've watched a lot of Dale documentaries, and there is some footage I had never seen before, and I found it so
Yep.
cool. And just a lot. It's a huge story, and I think they do a really good job at covering a lot of the bases that they needed to. Um, but yeah, just watching that, and you just see Buick, you see Mercury's or whatever. I don't know, but just how many manufacturers used to be here, even Pontiacs and all that back in the early 2000s, late 90s. But yeah, I don't know if I want all that back, but it's just cool to have another main brand in the car industry back in our sport. So
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing who comes on board as well.
yeah, but tell me about Mexico. You're
Oh, good
going.
old Mexico. Yeah, you boys like Mexico?
What's that
Yeah, I
from?
guess so.
What's that from?
It's oh, what's it called? Is it Super Troopers?
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it then.
I think it's Super Troopers.
Yeah,
Or maybe it's Reno 911.
it's
I can't remember.
kind of the same thing there.
Yeah,
New
it's
boot walking.
I'll be honest, it's hard to be excited because the travel for this weekend is really difficult given the time frames and stuff. And I won't get into too much detail, but it it really takes up a huge chunk of my weekend.
Yeah.
I leave my flight takes off at like 9 a.m. Friday morning,
So
so I have to leave
y'all
my
aren't
house.
flying private.
We're not
So
allowed to fly private this week. No. So
what are you
we are
doing?
flying out.
Spirit?
No, thank goodness. We are getting a
Air
commercial
Mexico?
flight. We're getting a commercial flight from Charlotte. I don't know the actual which company's flying us, which airline.
That's an
I
important
actually have no
detail.
no clue to be honest. But I mean, all I've been told is we're getting there. We're getting given TSA pre-check
Oh,
tickets, which
that's nice, actually.
I already have TSA pre-check, so it's
Oh,
nothing.
brag about it.
Yeah, no biggie to me. So all these people are going to show up and get TSA pre-check tickets, and then we go through one specific TSA security line. Will just be for us and the NASCAR guys, and it's they made it easy, but they also made it difficult. They made
Yeah.
it difficult first, but then made it easy. Like we're flying out commercial, but we're given like one check bag free, one carry on, and then like your personal bag because we're gonna be gone for 2 days to 3 days. So you're given all the stuff for free.
And this is
Because
all including like the gear you have to bring, like your helmet and everything.
so I'm gonna take my case that I take with me to the track. That'll get checked, and I might stuff an extra, something I might need in
That's
there.
risky.
Well, see, that's the thing. Only NASCAR people are on this flight. It's not getting mixed in with any
Okay.
regular flights. Like it is strictly like
Could
me
you
and every
imagine
other
that?
pit crew guy will be on that flight Friday morning, or
Hmm.
the flights. How many planes that are taking off at the same time?
Yeah.
Um, so all of our gear is on that plane. So honestly, if it gets lost, it's probably on you that you lost it. It's not so much that Delta or American Airlines lost it.
But could you
Um,
imagine?
and it's a direct flight. That was the one big thing the NASCAR talked about for this race was, how are we getting down there? So they ended up paying, I guess, whatever brand is flying us, they're gonna pay them to take us, but then we get escorted from the airport when we land in Mexico. We get taken to a resort. I won't name names, just for security reasons.
Gaylord.
We won't name names, and we have to stay there all day. We're not allowed to leave, which granted food is will be included and everything. But it's just the idea I have to leave Friday morning so early
Oh,
for a
wait, so you
race.
can't leave the hotel premises at all. It makes
No.
sense. I mean,
No, I'm honestly gonna stuff my Xbox in the case and
you're
just
gonna
go
build it back
play.
like it's a sniper in an assassin movie.
I'm just gonna play Call of Duty or something at the hotel room. Like I
It
don't know what
sounds
else
fun.
I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. If we can't leave, otherwise like I'm gonna go and end up sitting at a bar drinking or something.
I mean, it does suck
Just
that like y'all can't explore this international town that you may not go to otherwise. But
yeah.
it also makes sense. I mean, just out of safety
It's
reasons.
security, man. Like
Yeah,
I get it, but I also don't. So
yeah.
yeah, my big thing that just kind of chaps me is like we have to leave so early Friday. Like why couldn't it have been a 2 or 3 o'clock flight Friday afternoon? So when we land, because it's a 4 hour flight, when we land, we can just go to the hotel, kind of hang out for the evening, and then just wake up and go the next day. Like I'm not trying to toss any disses at anybody, but it's just like why so early? Like I don't understand. Unless the only thing I can think of is unless there's some like people that are going to the Xfinity stuff that are on our flights that have to be there for Friday afternoon tech or something. Like I don't get it. Um, because then I don't take off to come home until Sunday morning at like the same time. I
Hmm.
take off like 8 a.m. or something like that Sunday morning, and then I land at like almost 3 o'clock. So my whole weekend, for the most part's gone because of this one race. And like I said, I'm not trying to bash anybody. I don't mind the idea of exploring new things, but I feel like we could have somehow done this differently where it didn't have to be 2 whole days gone. Now, I actually feel more for the Cup guys. The Cup guys are leaving Thursday, tomorrow, to go to
Your hand
Mexico,
is freaky right now.
and then they don't come back until Monday. Sorry, is it because it's not blurred?
Yeah, it just looks like you're just on a set with a green screen.
Yeah.
Uh, I do wonder when you were talking about this of just the logistics of traveling to Mexico versus I think we talked about at one point Montreal was kind of first in line,
Hmm.
and how maybe there was different restrictions or whatever, and just I mean obviously Mexico is probably a little bit more dangerous than Canada, but
Yeah,
probably
you're not
don't need a
lying.
full-on brigade, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I just wonder if the logistics of that would be the changer because it's always like the first year of something, at least after even 20 years of not having been there, just the logistics being worked back out. Because if this was to be a success, yeah, NASCAR is going to go back again, especially because they're maybe getting a bit of that F1 uh viewership, kind of sharing a track with him like they already do with Coda. But yeah, I just wonder if this is that thing of like maybe there's a big like I don't know, it's just so expensive to fly a private plane into Mexico, especially
Yeah, and
several.
I mean
That's what I'm wondering. If they don't want
that's
to take these big financial risks on something that they're not sure about, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, like it doesn't seem like the most, definitely not the most convenient, but is it the most practical way too? Especially
yeah,
for
for
these
sure.
guys who have families and not being able to control the timing of these commercial flights. Um, yeah, you're
Well,
definitely
so
giving
that's
up
the thing.
stuff.
I don't know if it's technically the timing of the commercial flights. It's because if I'm not mistaken, it's NASCAR and whatever airline we're flying with coordinated these times to leave. So that's why wherever terminal we're at and stuff, it's all designated just for us, which
Yeah,
is cool. I don't mind it. It's just I think for me, it's why couldn't we immediately head back after the race on Friday, Saturday, sorry, and even if it's designated times, like if the race starts at 3 and the flight's gonna take off at like 8 p.m., like that's fine. Like I don't mind that. It's just the idea of we have to basically go back to the hotel and stay overnight and leave at 6 a.m. from the hotel on a
yeah,
charter bus. It's a lot, man, that it's more of a downer than it is an up for us because we're the ones putting on the show, but then we're forced to do it all in such a strange way that
yeah,
it's really hard to be excited about, but at the same time, like I get it. Maybe it's just the first year of trying to figure things out, and the next year will be a little bit more lax and they
yeah.
can do it in a different way. But
Well, also just sucks that it's on like a weekend like Father's Day where, I'm sure
yeah,
your
I mean
family
that's
wants
another thing.
to,
Like Father's Day, I can't. I'm gonna come home at 3 or 4 o'clock, and by that time, I've been traveling for 4 or 5 hours. I've been up
yeah,
since 6 a.m., you know.
yeah,
Actually, that's minimum. I'll probably be up at 5 a.m. So I'm gonna be up for like almost 10 hours before I'm even really at the house. So
yeah.
it's such a strange situation. Like I said, I'm not trying to bash NASCAR. It's just it kind of just sucks.
I mean, with something like this, we talked about the truck drivers that have to go down there, like the guys driving the
Yes,
semis.
and
Like at least y'all are flying. Like they have
yeah,
to
and
be
I'm not trying to
escorted.
complain too much. It definitely is really hard on the truck drivers leaving from either here for Xfinity teams to go to Laredo and then drive into Mexico or from Michigan to Laredo down to
Yeah.
Mexico. Like I know that everybody put in their time. It's just it's a lot for one race and stuff and hopefully maybe we'll have a better idea next year if we go back that we can do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I'm sure if they were to do it kind of like what they did with Chicago, they gave it a 3-year run and I'm sure it'll be smooth by the end. But yeah, I mean, from a fan, so the outside looking in, not really seeing all this logistical. I mean, I see it more than the normal fan because of you. And also like our dad being a part of it. Like he was telling me before, like there was speculation if Mexico was still going to even be a thing at the beginning of this year. But he was telling me what he was hearing about like all the logistics of getting even the haulers down there. And at first, I even thought they weren't even going to take haulers there because it's like, why would you put those $1 million buses on the road and risk that? But yeah, I'm also just curious on how F1 does stuff too. I've always been curious
Yeah,
about how they,
I
especially
agree.
going like across an ocean. I've always,
Hmm.
yeah, it's very
They do a
curious.
lot of shipping, like on
Yeah.
shipping containers.
Could you imagine if that boat sinks?
That'd be a bad day,
That'd be a horrible day. Uh,
man.
Yeah. So it's an interesting event. I'm looking forward to the weekend just because it's a fresh new thing. Definitely get to put NASCAR in another culture, which is really cool as well. Not saying Mexico is not familiar with NASCAR or even racing in general. They've definitely had their fair share, but just it's cool to put our sport in this position and kind of see how it performs. Although we talk about the performance, my hot take is that it's going to be absolute chaos. I think it'll be chaos with not a lot of passing when it flows out. I saw the layout of the track. Don't know really how long the track is mileage wise, but I was like, these are a lot of sharp corners. And we've seen Coda, see first corner, Watkins Glen's first corner. Those are some pretty hard corners to get through. And
Hmm.
so I've seen
Yeah, I think
there's,
it's gonna
ugh,
be interesting for sure. I'm gonna feel for whatever team wrecks out like in the first 5 laps because of all
Yeah.
this travel, all the logistics to get to this
Yeah.
race, and if you end up wadding it up really early, that'll be a bad day.
The good news is, and I appreciate NASCAR prepping for this, is that there is extended practice time.
Hmm.
Cup Series practice usually starts on Saturday. This weekend, I think there's two sessions on Friday and two sessions on Saturday. And so that's a good thing because I was telling you earlier that there was a lot of drivers in the Cup Series who are good at road courses, and there are some who are just not. They're just better at ovals. They're just surviving road courses. And that's what makes me nervous is just desperation probably sets in at one point too. Um, and yeah, just sending it down a corner, maybe getting a little too comfortable with your car. And yeah, I even speak of that as a Larson fan. We've seen him get a little too greedy at Indy. He tried to turn an Indy car into a NASCAR and put it in below the line. And so I'm curious about that stuff. We can turn this into predictions as well. I'm not sure how you think Mexico will be, if it's going to be any different than what I predicted, but.
I'm gonna go SVG sweeps both races.
Oh yeah, he is in both races. I definitely think he'll be Xfinity winner. I don't think anybody will challenge him in that car. I am curious because of the unpredictability of both races, honestly, but I think SVG will just qualify in the pole, definitely in Xfinity. Um, but the Cup Series is what's interesting to me because there is enough
But
other competitors.
I think the Cup car also is a really good NASCAR road course car.
Hmm.
It naturally is. It puts on a very. Coda was awesome this year.
Yeah,
Awesome racing. And even whether that was based on the track or the driving, I just think that the Cup car itself is really, it's a good car for road course racing. It's because compared to the old generation cars, this next gen car has bigger brakes, bigger rotors,
yeah.
wider tires. Like it has a little bit more grip for sailing it into the corner harder, and you have more brake to back up, as you get to the corner. So all that speaking, I just think that the next gen car does really well on road courses. We've seen Christopher Bell become a really good road course racer. Kyle Busch has always been a pretty good road course racer.
He definitely shined at Coda.
He was really good at Coda, just the car went away at the end.
Yeah,
I think Ross Chastain won at Coda once. The 45 is one at
24.
Coda. I'm
Not
trying to
Coda,
think.
but he won at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, William Byron's great at it. So the
I
level of
mean,
competition across the board for Cup versus Xfinity, I think, is definitely much greater.
I think I also wanted to do like a wild card pick, meaning
Hmm.
because I think there's going to be such wild restarts, wild racing, that I'm going with two picks this time. I'm going to put SVG at one of mine. My other pick would be Tyler Reddick because he's won at a variety of road courses.
Yeah.
He won at Road
Well,
America and
yep.
Coda. I want to say he's also won. He won, I
Yeah.
think, last year. Um, Yeah, he's and also I heard his statistics. He's like qualified or finished top 10, 16 out of 18 road course races in the next gen. So
Yeah.
he's very
He
good.
definitely gets it.
I think Larson would be competitive. He was able to keep up with SVG at Chicago the past couple years, especially last year, I think. But then he kind of also wrecked himself. But Larson, he's a good road course racer. I couldn't say he's the best in the field, but like he
He's
is top
he's good
five
enough
ish.
that he can win. I mean, he won Sonoma the one year when they won
Yeah,
like four races in a row or something.
yeah. So
Summer of
he's
21.
yeah, and also like I said, like when he raced the Xfinity race for Chicago last year, him and SVG put on a show, and
Yeah.
so I think he'll keep up. I think he'll be up there, but like I said, I think there's going to be such chaotic restarts that I don't even know who to really pick because I can totally see just pileups right now and these good drivers being collateral damage. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to think, but SVG and Reddick will be mine. Do you want to pick a wild card before?
If I'm picking a wild card in Xfinity, I'll put us out there because Jeremy Clements has actually won road course races
Oh
at
yeah,
Road America.
yeah.
2017, I think, is when he won that. So
Oh.
I think we'll be pretty solid. I'm trying to think of somebody else I would possibly put up there. I think I think Sheldon Creed like road course racing.
I had a weird dream the other night, maybe last
Maybe
night,
maybe he gets
which,
his win and it's not even in America. It's in Mexico.
yeah. Well, I had a weird dream that Sheldon Creed won. I don't know why that was my dream, but like
Yeah.
it was like one of my, I think they say you dream like 80 something times at night, but you just only remember a couple. Uh, but yeah, it's probably one of my 80 dreams that he won. But like, there was a huge wreck at the end, and he was a part of it. They're like, did he actually win though? It was,
Oh, still controversy.
yeah. Even in my dreams, you come in second, bud.
Man.
Sam Mayer is a pretty good road course racer. We've seen him come alive the past couple of
Yeah.
years, so he's one to watch out for in the Xfinity series. I guess I'll put him as my wild card as well. But yeah, looking forward to Mexico more than you, it sounds like. But I hope it's a good weekend for NASCAR's sake. But yeah, at the same time, if they do this again, I hope there's enough feedback from the internals to say like, hey, let's 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 make this a bit more of a convenience, especially if you're going to do it on like a Father's Day weekend. I kind of wish the Charlotte was a Father's Day weekend race. That way, everyone could really just go home that night
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
But they also do that on Memorial Day. What's the Mother's Day weekend?
So I guess I need to look up what the weather's going to be like in Mexico City. Like, how hot's it going to be?
Yeah, seriously. But I think that does it for this week's episode. So we'll see what the results are next week, and we'll see how upset you are then.
Hopefully, I'm not upset. Let's see. So Saturday, Mexico City has a 55% chance of rain,
Of course it does.
which granted, that's either way we're racing, so who cares?
Yeah.
72 is the high, and honestly, these temperatures are not what I expected for Mexico City. Like the highest of all this week is 76. That's today down there.
Mm,
So, and then the lows are like high 50s every day.
nice. So it's gonna feel good.
So I'm needing to bring my rain jacket, probably my hoodie,
Yeah.
because anytime you ever fly, you gotta usually bring your hoodie.
I don't wear hoodies anymore.
I wear hoodies all the time.
I if I don't have a zipper, unless it's like a long sleeve shirt, but hoodies just they're not convenient. I
I love
also
them.
run hot,
I have
so
a
like
crazy sunburn right now from yesterday that this hoodie is kind of helping me just stay warm and not
yeah.
not like going in and out of like heat flashes.
Oh yeah, y'all were at the beach the past couple days.
Yep.
There was a tornado watch in Charleston, I think. Did it seem like that?
It got really, really windy near Hilton Head where we were
Oh.
at. It got like at least 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. Like it was kicking up sand dust and stuff. Like it was insane.
Oh dang. So no sandcastles, at least.
No, did not
They didn't
happen.
survive.
Not Monday. Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine my niece and nephew, at least my nephew, trying to make a farm out of the sand. And just
He he and Ella have great imaginations that they were having a blast. So
yeah, well, that's cool. But yeah, that's does it for this week. I gotta go comb the parrot, so
nice.
that sounds kind of odd.
Well, it's been fun, man. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have to have a good talk about Mexico next week.
yeah. Lucy's out, so that's nice.
She is knocked out, isn't she?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyways, all right. We'll see you next
10
week.
Away podcast, episode 10 is
Yep.
done.
It's over. Go away.
Get away.
See
See you,
ya.
dude.
Bye.